Stay tuned after this rudder repair video. If you'd like to see me talk a little bit about what happened and what actually failed on the rudder with diagrams and graphics and stuff, so you can try to understand what caused the ultimate failure, and then my thoughts on what happened and how I'm going to try to move forward. So I'm here in Honolulu. I'm on the guest slips here, and I'm heading over to Universal Manufacturers to see about getting stainless strap tangs made, custom made, to do the temporary repair for the rudder. That will allow me to explore the islands. It would not be strong enough for an ocean crossing, but it'll allow me to at least be able to check out Maui and all the islands surrounding Maui and Oahu as well. So I'm going to take an Uber across town and speak with them about getting these tangs made up. Just left the fabricator. Captain Mike, Hawaii, suggested I go to these guys. They were awesome. They were very friendly, like professional, big shop. They do marine stuff. And for my 3 strap tangs I need made to my specifications in 316 stainless, it's going to be $360 total for all 3. So, and the guy was like, no, you know, we can't get these to you for like 3 days. I was like, not a problem, not a problem. So I'm stoked. I'll be able to pick them up next week and get that temporary fix done, and for a very fair price. So very stoked to be making progress on the temporary fix of the rudder. Now it's time to get back down to the boat. Okay, so about to get in the water and see if I can do the temporary rudder repair while the boat's in the water. Got the tangs back from the fabricator, and I'm gonna dive down. Got all my scuba stuff set up. See if this fits. Hopefully it fits. And if it fits, I'll be hand drilling out the holes. Well, I'll be ratchet strapping this into place, hand drilling out the holes, putting in bolts, bam, ready to go. Hopefully it goes that easy. But first step is to get in the water and to see if our fabrication fits. If it doesn't, then we'll take it back to the fabricator and have them make the adjustment. So yeah, let's get wet.
So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get in the water, and you're gonna hand me one of these. So they're kind of hot. So okay. Oh, I need my fins over here.
Nice, healthy water. Disgusting. We're gonna take our ratchet strap off to get that on. Now put it down. I need you to try to find me a hammer.
Okay,
You
where are
can
the
stop that.
tools?
Okay, so I had to come up for another tank. One of them is completely installed. It was too hard to film underwater while I was doing it. Using a hand drill and bolted it together. So one is totally done. The other one bolt is in. I got to do the last two bolts right now. It's giving me more trouble, but yeah, looks like we're gonna be able to get this done. It's done. I can only fit 2 of the 3 tags, but and I'm leaving the middle ratchet strap on just for giggles, added support. Looks like Frankenstein, but her temporary repair is in place, and it was not easy. But I had a fish helper. That you'll see on the screen. Now I gotta get out of the water and take an acid bath. Okay, so now let's get into talking a little bit about the makeup of the rudder on an Alberg 30. It is wood, like slats of wood that are basically like fed together, like boards that are fed together over bronze rods, and then they're threaded at the end. The rods are threaded at the end, and then there's a nut that holds the whole sandwich of wood together. I'm not sure what type of wood it is. Probably mahogany or teak, but that's the construction of the Alberg 30 rudder. Now, when I first saw the rudder out of the water, I was very alarmed by it. The fact that it was wood really freaked me out, and I was like really taken aback by the whole thing. And I'll show you a little clip now of when we hauled out and my reaction. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that after the clip. Our rudder is actually wood, which like really alarmed me and I freaked out. But the foreman of the yard here was like, don't worry about it. Like, don't, you know, I was talking about things to do and he was like, saltwater preserves it. He's like, you might do more harm than good. So we're gonna talk about things at making sure that this is like secure enough for us to go. And then if I'll probably make a new rudder in Mexico. It's solid fiberglass, but for now, he made me feel comfortable that we're gonna be okay. So yeah, when I saw the rudder, I was super freaked out, and then the foreman of the yard, you know, told me rudders were made out of wood for centuries, which is true. And there's plenty of wooden boats that are perfectly fine that are afloat. They take more. It takes more care and upkeep and stuff, but wood is a perfectly fine thing as long as, you know, everything is done correctly. And I had talked to him at the time I was like, should I like coat it in fiberglass and resin and all this stuff? And he was like, whatever you're gonna do is probably gonna do more damage than good. And he was correct. Like, that would not have been the way to go about, you know, beefing up that rudder. The only solution is to make a brand new rudder out of like contemporary materials, which is what I'm gonna do now that I have to replace it. But let's talk about what actually failed. So the Alberg 30 rudder, as I mentioned, are slats of wood that are fed onto bronze rods. And you can see in this graphic, there's the long tiller shaft, which is made of bronze, comes down from the cockpit. It bends to match the contour of the hull and the rudder itself. And then there are bronze, like I said, bronze rods welded onto the post, that 2 of them just go, I think the technical drawing shows the top 2 go like 6 inches in, and then the bottom 2 go all the way aft to the tail end of the rudder. There were little wooden plugs in place. One of them popped off while I was doing the temporary repair, and then I could see the bronze nut at the end, which is what held the whole sandwich together. There are 2 more of those rods on the lower edge as well that did not fail, thankfully. Now, my boat is a full kill boat, as you can see from the illustrations and from the clip of the boat hauled out. She has this very large rudder, and she has quite a bit of weather helm, and she has always had that since I got the boat. And I don't know if that's because I've never had new sails on the boat, or if it's just due to the design of her hull. Due to this fact that she has quite a bit of weather helm, you have to keep the tiller kind of pretty hard over when you're sailing, which is not an issue. A number of people on the passage video were like, well, maybe you broke the rudder because you were pushing the tiller too far over. That's like saying, oh, you can only turn your steering wheel 40%. If you turn it 100% to one way or the other, then you're going to break your wheels. That's not how boats are made. The boat is obviously, when it was new, the rudder is made so that it can go hard over to either way for any extended amount of time. Otherwise, it's like, then it's not an ocean-going boat, and it should be stay on a lake. These boats were made specifically for ocean sailing. They are blue water boats, so, you know, so much of what I'm dealing with, specifically with like this rudder design, is it's 56 years old. That's a key thing to keep in mind. When I did dive on the boat and do the temporary repair, I saw that the tiller shaft, which is what failed, is pink, which means it's been compromised. So much like my prop was compromised when I hauled out because it was pink as well, and it had suffered corrosion, and it makes it soft. It leaches out all of the specific elements of the makeup of the bronze, and that makes it brittle and soft. So as soon as I saw that, I knew the whole thing had to be replaced, every aspect. That led to the failure as well. I know for sure that there was a strike that took place. I didn't hear it, I didn't feel it. Some people were asking if it happened in the harbor. There's no way it could have happened in the harbor. I dove on the boat before I left. Everything was fine. There's a red mark on there's red paint that was left on the rudder from whatever I hit, and paint removed from the rudder from the impact, and then a big chip that was of an old repair that had been dislodged. So those are all, you know, pretty glaring signs that there was a strike that took place. With the weather helm that I mentioned, the tiller had to be lashed over hard to counteract the weather helm to allow the self-steering wind vane, which is an auxiliary rudder, to be able to do its job. Otherwise, the power of the boat would just overwhelm the small auxiliary rudder. So with that tiller lashed hard over to starboard, that put that, you know, the rudder, which would have normally been like this, hard out to port. which put it in harm's way, so that, you know, any kind of object coming along, even though luckily it missed the hull, it struck the rudder and led to the eventual failure. It did not fail on the strike, which means it was like a light clip, but that clip, I'm sure, fractured those posts because of the corrosion. That's like a perfect storm here, that eventually led to the failure of the rudder. As I said in the past this video, I was hand steering when it took place, trying to get the boat on the wind, because I had just come into the trades. I was running downwind and down seas, so it's really hard to kind of find the wind. Until you drop your main, it's almost impossible to find a good track. And so I was hand steering in what ended up being 20 knots of wind. Once it got on the beam, I knew the true scale of the wind, the true speed of the wind. But I was hand steering. I didn't feel great amounts of pressure on the rudder, and then all of a sudden I'm holding the tiller and it just gently went over and it was just gone. I lost all steering. Very just like gone. So it just finally went, you know. So with the illustrations, I hope you have a better understanding of what the makeup of the rudder is and what led to its failure, and, you know, it makes more sense. From the color of the paint, I definitely am leaning towards thinking that I could have hit a partially submerged container. And a lot of people are like, how in the world is that possible? In 2020 alone, 3,000 sea containers were lost overboard. This is a known problem. A lot of race boats have hit them, and those dudes are going fast, and that is deadly. With Triteia being a non-cord, like 1-inch thick hand-laid fiberglass boat, I don't believe that even if we had like directly hit the container, if it was a container, we wouldn't have had an all is lost scenario. I don't believe, because the boat is so well built and so stout. It could have like fractured, or like, you know, cracked the hull, but I don't believe it would have put a hole in it, simply because of the slow speeds that this boat moves at. This boat doesn't fly at like 7 or 8 knots generally, unless we're cruising down wave faces. So at that speed, I don't think, but it could have sheared off one of the through holes forward, you know, or damaged one of those and caused a leak at that point. That's the greater risk, I believe. Either way, there's no way for me to know what I hit. I did pass 2 strange weather buoys in the daytime that I just happened to see. I was on deck and saw them. One of them got pretty close, and I could see another one in the distance. Those were rather big. It could have been debris, but whatever it was had to be painted, and the paint able to like leave a mark on my rudder when it struck it. So yeah, I mean, my loose guess is that it was a container, but I'll never know. So yeah, and the path forward now is I've gotten a couple quotes out for professional fabricators to possibly fabricate a new rudder made out of like high-tech foam, stainless steel shaft that can be tapped and zinced, because my bronze shaft, you couldn't zinc it, and that was one of the reasons it led to failure, the corrosion and failure. So yeah, I'm leaning towards having a new rudder professionally made if I can get it done at a reasonable price. I think that I could definitely make a rudder, but it would not be to the level that a professional could. And I also have a lot of concerns about part shortages and materials and everything with what's happening with the sort of like global, you know, shortage of materials at the moment. So a lot to think about. Also, if I make it myself, I'll have to find a place to make it here. So there's a lot of wild card. I think it would cost me at least $2,000 in materials alone, not counting my time, to make it the way it needs to be made. And it'll be made out of fiberglass. If I made it, it would have a marine ply core. And again, I have to have a new stainless, 1-inch stainless tiller shaft made as well, bent to the original specifications. So all that stuff will come up on a future episode whenever I get down to that and actually figure out how it's going to go down. But for now, my temporary repair has held wonderfully. I have visited 1, 2, 3, 4 anchorages with the temporary repair. I sailed in 22 knots of wind, and I could feel pressure on it, enough pressure that it made me realize I don't want to do any inter-island travel with my temporary repair. I'm happy and comfortable exploring all around Oahu, but I don't trust going across these channels, which are no joke, until I have an actual, like, bomb-proof built rudder on my boat. So yeah, that's where we're at. I hope this gave you guys a little bit of insight as to what happened and what the makeup was, and a little bit, I'm sorry I couldn't get better footage of me filming while I was doing the actual temporary repair, but there was no one to film me. I tried the head mount thing and it just didn't work out. And I was in the water for like 3 hours, so it was a long day. But we got it done, and we're back out there exploring. So thanks for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, hit me down in the comments, and I'll try to get to I'll try to answer everything I can. And yeah, other than that, now it's time to show you guys the adventures after the temporary repair. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that little bell, and can't wait to show you guys these rad anchorages on Oahu. Fair winds until next time.